What's up, y'all? It's Dave Bloom here. This is another proof of concept video for Aviator. I just finished what I would call version 1 of global componentry, which is another way of saying like build and style something in one place on a website and then be able to kind of stamp it elsewhere on the website wherever you want. Anything from as small as a button to as large as an entire layout. So I'm going to explain in this video a little bit of why I did this, and then I'm going to show you how to do it with Aviator. Again, proof of concept off the cuff, might be a little buggy, but I'm just going to roll with this. So like when you're building websites, it's important to keep things consistent. You help your visitor build a mental model of what your site is about, the rhythm of the text and of the actions. And it's pretty clear with something like this, like what they want you to do or what your options are, what this is, maybe what some like latest news is, just by looking at it. We've all sort of come together as a species and been like, okay, this whole like eyebrow headline, sub-headline, and button group is kind of like the way things look pretty good. It gives you a large enough text that you like can't help but read it, allows your eye to kind of float down and explore further if you want. Gives you a slot for latest news, gives you a slot for primary and secondary actions. That just kind of works. But with WordPress sites and specifically Beaver Builder sites, sometimes it can be hard to keep things consistent, keep things global. And so there are like solutions like CSS, and there are solutions like global settings and stuff like that. In this video, I want to show you how you can imbue like structure and style into a globalized component and then feed it like instance specific data. So wherever you stamp this like button template or component template out, you can change the text to something other than get started, or like you could, change it to this, but still maintain its structure and style in the way that you built it initially. I think the best way to probably show this is to just do that, and then I'll explain how I'm doing it as I go. So when you install Aviator, you get a custom post type called Aviator Components. And this is like a post type where you can kind of build these things. And so I'm going to do this, I'm going to illustrate this as a button because that's going to keep it kind of simple for you. But you can do, I've been doing this with banners and with feature sections and other like larger structures, and it works perfectly. So I'm kind of jazzed about it. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to like publish a new component and then Beaver build it, and I'm going to be building its template. And you might think about this as like, if you're a Beaver themer user, you might think of like this is kind of like a Beaver themer part. But when you make themer parts and themer layouts, you often have to use something like advanced custom fields to register dynamic fields for them. And then you have to edit those in the back end, and you can't see what you're doing when you're editing them. And it just is like, it's a little bit too far for me. So let's build an action button for this installation, and then we'll put it on another page and see what happens. So this is a proof of concept. This module is not completely done, but it does have most of the bones in place. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to type A and hit tab, and then I'll just give me like, an anchor tag. Then I'm going to add some utility classes to that. You could do this without utility classes. You could write your own CSS if you wanted to. But this is just going to make it easier for me to show you what's going on. So you'll see like, let's just put action button in the button. You can see it just popping it up here. And then we'll just give it like some style. So let's say like background, like dark red, color. I can just compose these as you've probably seen in other videos. Padding, like 1 rem. It's also just like, maybe wrap this in a div so I can like see what I'm doing here. Okay, so we're gonna have to remember to take that div off. I'll probably forget. Don't get mad. Okay, so dark red background, white coloring, 1 rem of padding, link to nowhere, and maybe we do like a border radius or something, like border radius, 0.5 rem. The reason why I'm writing all these out is because this is like a kind of Aviator specific syntax. If you haven't seen any other Aviator videos, it's kind of like Tailwind CSS, but Tailwind CSS uses a finite amount of utilities, kind of on purpose, but they also have like abbreviations, and this is a little bit more explicit. It shows you exactly what the hell is going on with your design. So you can just look at this. Actually, you can save it and it'll like kind of reorder them in order of impact. And you can see very clearly what the styles are for this button. No class is required, no jumping over to CSS required. So maybe I would give this, like, since it's an action button, I'd want to give it like a hover effect. So I could just type hover background red, and I can hide my overlays with this little guy and just test that. That's fine. Probably want a little transition there. Transition, like all 0.5 seconds ease or something. When you have space separated values in here, you just put underscores there. Cool. Maybe I want that to be a little bit faster. I might highlight this option up and down to just adjust it by 1/10 of a second. Usually like 300 milliseconds or 0.3 seconds is pretty standard. And actually I might not even need ease. Fine. Looks good. And I also might want to put like an icon in here. Usually I want like an arrow or a SVG of some kind. So I might open this baby up. And because I'm working in HTML, I can just do this whenever I want to anything I want. I don't have to like hope that they add the option for an SVG input. I just go span. And I might just do like another span for the SVG. That's where that'll sit. And then I'm going to need to give this anchor tag like a display. I like to use inline flex. And let me go grab a SVG. Let's get like fire or something. That works. Punch that in. Width and height are tailwind attributes. So I might just say like width 1M. And I can already see that that's like not centered vertically. So I just go back to my button, line item center, and gap, say like 0.5 rem or something. That seems fine. I could like bump this up a little bit, maybe 2.5 or something, but yeah, that seems about good. And 1.1. All right. So now we have our button. Our action button is ready. I kind of don't like that padding on top though. That's too much. So I'm gonna actually just say 0.5 rem, 1 rem. Maybe we do like, I actually kind of like these guys. 1.25 on the sides, 0.75 on top and bottom. I don't know why that works, but it just feels right. And so now I have my thing. I did remember to delete the outer div this time. So I'm going to save this all. It's a big wad of code, but we have a pretty functional button here. So in order to use this elsewhere, I do want to register like the areas that I'm going to want to change on different instances. So that is probably going to be the words and the icon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hoist these out. This is called Soul Fields right now. Just bear with me. I'm probably going to change it to Aviator Fields. I used to have a thing called Soul Plugins and that died. Okay, so let's hit Command D to just select the text inside of a tag. I'm going to cut that out and make a new Soul Field. This is going to be called button text. I'm going to paste it in here. Client editable area here. It looks like a code editor, but this can just hold text. And maybe I'll make it like, maybe I'll make the text input just a text area. It doesn't, you don't have to write code in here. This is a client editable space. So just keep that in mind. I'll copy the copyable name, and then I'll save that field. So probably guessed it. I can punch that right into my code. And what I've done is I've registered an editable area and also like a component injectable area for elsewhere. You can see that it looks the same. I know what it's going to look like. And I'm going to do the same thing for the SVG. So let me just fold that guy up, cut him out. We'll call this button SVG. And I'll paste it in. Copy it back. Maybe there's a faster way to do this, but this is pretty hot stuff in my opinion. And we'll just hit Command D, clean up the code a little bit just so things look prettier. And now we still have our template intact. We're good. So let's scroll down, and this might eventually reside over here, but now we have this shortcode that we can put places. And if I go to my dashboard and make a page, let's try component demo. Hopefully this is blank. It is. Is it? Hopefully. Yes. Okay, so we're going to go to like a completely different page. Now, bear in mind, this is a Aviator component post type, so it's unique. It saves itself. It saves this information to itself. So we're going to just make a page, blank page, and I'll just make like a banner where that needs a button here. And we'll say banner, B for banner. Pretty large size, and maybe like with like say 4 parts. That'll get me that. I like to do these little expansions. So I'm gonna just look in here, and I can see that this is my like button from that template, and I'm just going to hit return to delete it and paste in my shortcode. Now, oh, I gotta save this. Okay, that should beam this information back here actually, so that it works. Okay, good. No refresh required there. That's pretty good. So now I have a button, and it is like waiting for me to fill it with stuff, with like instance specific information. So I could just go like get started and go grab another like icon, like an arrow or something. And I might want to actually just hydrate that here too. So button SVG, bang, and let's make these also, what was it, 1.1 rem or something, or M. So that works there. Get started. And now I have brought over an instance specific, let's just do this too. Like, let's pretend that our client is going to be editing this page, and they're just going to see this tab. They want to be able to like change the things that we tell them that they can change. And we want to, when we're building, it's like kind of a nice thing to do to not just have all of this stuff expressed in HTML, but instead keep the HTML for yourself to scaffold all these things out, but register kind of this no-coder friendly area that people who you're working with or your clients can go in and like change stuff, but still be using your complex and awesome structures. So now everything is hydrating in fine. The hover event should work great. And we have global componentry. So now if I go back here and I want to make a change to it, maybe I want to go like dark blue and blue for the hover. So dark blue, and then hover is blue. Immediately I can see the effects of my changes here. And if I save that, it should go ahead and pipe a change over here as well. So good. Now I have a blue button. But let's say I wanted the component to be blue, but for this to be able to be colored different colors on instantiation. So I could use some CSS for that. I might just do this instead. I'm going to wrap this in a what I call a sub item, and that is something that sits inside of an item. And I want to give this a class of like, I actually want to bump it down slightly. It feels a little bit too close to the text here. I might actually make that text a little bit smaller. Like, usually buttons are a little bit farther away from text than text is to their corresponding headline. That's just kind of like something I've noticed. I think you probably might see that there. Like, this is a little bit larger than that. It's up to you, but that's how I kind of roll. So this is kind of creeping up on there. You might not have noticed it, but maybe I say like margin top 1 rem and I'm done. But let's talk about the color. So we know that like this is an anchor tag, and it's being given a color of dark blue and a blue color or blue background of, background color on hover. So if I want to make those red in this instance only, but keep all the other stuff, I can use a special class that kind of borrows some ideas from jQuery, which is find. So if I say find a background dark red, and look at it, it changes. And I could say find a hover background red. So I can go right over here, and my instance is different. So I'm still using the same general config, but I'm able to make adjustments to the instance of both content and style. And this might come in handy for something like changing the flex direction, but still keeping my button style relatively like solid instead of making a whole new like other button class or other button structure that's like the other way. All I have to do is, in this instance, I just say find a flex direction row reverse, and then maybe I might, have a different icon for that. Let's say it's an educational thing. We go in and we update our SVG for this instance. So I'm just gonna punch that in there, take my little width hack. And there's our graduation cap. Maybe I make the stroke width a little bit thicker. And there we go. So now, without having to make a whole new component, I'm just able to make one little adjustment to this as I see fit. And if I want to cancel those decisions, I can just multi-cursor in here and just hit an X, break the CSS. See that? So pretty flexible system. And once I make a change to this, like if I say, okay, I'm going to need a border style or change the spacing or whatever, I'm able to do that in one place. And I invite you to think about how you can do this with more than buttons. You can build an entire banner, kind of like I've built this banner. This whole thing could be a component, and I use it regularly, where I'm able to fill in the text elements dynamically, but I keep my structure intact. So that way, if I need to tighten up my headers across the site, or I need to center them instead of, left aligning them, I'm working with a design system and a component system that allows me to have a single source of truth for those decisions. So this is probably a good place to stop the video, but I invite you to let me know what kind of components you want me to build, because I'm actually building kind of a component system that I want to ship with this thing, just so you can get started with these guys a little bit faster. And if you, this guy. And if you noticed up here, there's a little library icon. That is where I would like you to be able to open up a panel and just plunk these things in with maybe a small link to edit them. So ships with a really well thought out design system and component system. And then you could just slap websites together real fast and then make the adjustments, not starting from scratch, but just learn how to edit pre-built components that are doing the right thing for the most part, and ship responsive layouts that look pretty solid way faster. So that's the idea here. Anywho, thanks for watching. That's global components with instance specific style and structure and data, and rock on.